Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 136. Without any delay, start explanation. Blue-silver grass. Tang Wulin's current greatest weakness. It limited the speed of his soul power's growth, and the effect rippled out, stunting every other aspect of his abilities. Fortunately, he was still young. He could use other methods to increase his soul power if his growth was lacking by the time he turned 18. Neither Wu Zhongkong nor Shen Yi were worried about Tang Wulin's chances of entering the inner court. The boy was the youngest fifth-rank blacksmith in all of history. That alone was enough to permit him entry. Moreover, his blacksmithing skills made it easy for him to become a one-word battle armor master. He already had his gauntlet, so it was only a matter of time now before he completed a full set. Tang Wulin took in a deep breath, filling his lungs with the refreshing air of Sea God's Island. His blood essence flowed in reverse as he used Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens. Waves of might rolled off him, golden lines flaring to life from head to toe. His right arm swelled with strength, scales of the same bright gold manifesting upon it, transforming his hand into a claw. The scales spread to his shoulders, his chest, then up his neck. Wu Zhongkong was familiar with Tang Wulin's use of blood essence, his eye always on his hopeful student. But when he saw the scales crawl up to cover Tang Wulin's neck as well, he nearly forgot to breathe. His blood essence became stronger? At that moment, two golden rings rose from beneath Tang Wulin. He straightened his back, seeming a couple centimeters taller than before, steady as a mountain. He shone a brilliant gold. The air whipped up into a frenzy around him. His blood essence roared like a raging river, audible even to Wu Zhongkong and Shen Yi a distance away. Shueisha watched with bright eyes. He had high expectations for Tang Wulin to begin with, but now the boy was blasting past them. A second golden ring? Didn't he only have one last time? Just how far will his bloodline go? Tang Wulin's body flashed a brighter gold, his first golden ring lighting up. Strength surged through his swelling muscles. The golden lines on his body transformed into fine scales, thinner than the rest. Apart from his face, the scales covered his entire form. Golden Dragon Body. This soul skill further empowered his blood essence. Then his second golden ring shone. Eager he was to traverse in newfound territory, to test out the abilities of the second ring. From Tang Wulin's body burst forth a ringing of metal, and once again did his scales shine more resplendently for a moment. Each and every scale a miniature mirror, dazzling in the light. Shueisha, Wu Zhongkong, and Shen Yi remained glued to the sight, jaws hanging. What did Wulin do? Why are all of his scales shining? In truth, not even Tang Wulin knew what was happening. Rather, he had been too wrapped up with investigating his second blood essence skill. He had tried concentrating, taking in the sensation of the whole transformation. Had concluded it definitely wasn't a ranged attack. And nothing happened to his soul power after activating the skill. Instead, the skill consumed a large portion of his blood essence reserves, enough to weaken Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens. Then, just 2 seconds after he had activated the skill, his scales dimmed and returned to their original state. There was no other change. Is that it? Is that my second blood essence skill? All it does is make me shiny? What am I? A peacock? He gritted his teeth. I might look good while my scales shine, but what good is that? Tang Wulin curled his hands into fists, on the verge of tears. He had looked forward to his second blood essence soul skill for so long, had wished and hoped and dreamt of it, but when time came to actually activate the skill, it wasn't a ranged attack at all. It wasn't even anything of value, just made him shine from head to toe like a beacon. Even so, there was no way he could just stop midway through Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens. He needed to show Shueisha his progress. Fortunately, breaking the fourth seal had strengthened his blood essence. He still had enough energy to unleash the technique. A dragon's roar thundered. He thrust his palms out, the phantom of a giant dragon's head rushing out. It was clearer and more visible than ever before. Shueisha knitted his brows, a shiver running down his spine. He could feel his own martial soul trembling in fear before Tang Wulin. He threw a curtain of fire to shield himself from the rage of the phantom dragon head. Shockwaves rumbled through the courtyard, leaves raining down from the shaking trees. Tang Wulin's blood essence, turbulent like a storm within him. 3 waves of might crashed into the curtain of fire, each resonating with the last to reach new heights. The curtain of fire shimmered under the bombardment. Several seconds later, the assault stopped. Gold receded from the air and the roaring dragon calmed. When the dust settled, a pleased smile danced along Shuoisha's face. Not bad. You've mastered about 30% of Dragon Shocks the Heavens. Keep up the good work. I can teach you something new now. The reverse blood essence flow of Dragon Shocks the Heavens was only the first step. For Shuoisha had created the 9 arts of the Scarlet Dragon, and each art drew out the full potential of blood essence. Although Shuoisha didn't say it, he was beyond satisfied with Tang Wulin. The boy's blood essence is even stronger than mine when I was his age. His bloodline is also superior to my Scarlet Dragon. He's a suitable heir to my techniques. He had been searching for a good disciple to inherit his techniques for years, but he never expected to find one as perfect as Tang Wulin. The boy soaked up all of his teachings like a sponge. Tang Wulin earnestly listened to Shuoisha as the elderly man lectured him, but gloom had settled on his heart after testing his second blood essence soul skill. He couldn't understand what to make of it. It was absolutely useless if all it did was make him shine, especially with how much strength it consumed. He resolved to go ask old Tang about it later. Shuoisha's lecture went on for an hour before letting Tang Wulin off to cultivate. Sea God's Island was saturated with the natural energies of the world and ancient plants. As such, it was a perfect cultivation ground for Tang Wulin. As Tang Wulin meditated, he called out for old Tang, eager to have his questions answered. But there was only silence. Is old Tang on strike? Tang Wulin smiled wryly to himself. Forget about it. If he's not answering, then he's not answering. I'll figure things out on my own. Tang Wulin tried using the skill again, but apart from shining for 2 seconds, nothing happened. His attack power didn't increase, nor was his blood essence empowered. All the skill did was consume a vast amount of blood essence, double that of Golden Dragon body. It seemed to weaken him in the middle of battle for no gain. He was vexed. The only thing that stopped him from going crazy was the new teachings Shuoisha imparted on him. Under Shuoisha's guidance, he rapidly progressed in refining his Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens. He practiced until the sun fell and night took its place. Dinner time. Just as Tang Wulin expected, Shuoisha had handled dinner. The food laid out on the table was luxurious and highly nutritious. The black steamed buns Tang Wulin had eaten last time were present as well. He didn't bother standing on ceremony and dug in, greedily devouring the food. Shuoisha got to witness a storm ravaging his dining table for the first time. He had asked Shenyi to prepare more food than usual, but the force of nature that was Tang Wulin's stomach showed no signs of satisfaction. Common sense couldn't be applied to the boy's appetite. His appetite had grown with the breaking of the 4th seal, and he had tired himself practicing Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens today as well. His hunger was unstoppable. It was unbelievable. Wulin, do you have enough money to sustain your eating habits? Shenyi asked in concern. Tang Wulin smirked. Teacher Shen, you don't have to worry about that. As long as I don't leave Shrek, Elder Feng promised to cover all of my food expenses. That was a condition for me to become his disciple. Shuoisha perked a brow. That penny-pinching Feng Wuyu would actually be that generous. Knowing how much his grand teacher liked him, Tang Wulin didn't restrain himself. He grinned wide. Yep. I'm just that amazing. Grand teacher, when I visited Heaven-Do City and studied blacksmithing under my uncle master, he told me that as soon as I got my 4th soul ring, I would be a 6th-rank blacksmith. Shuoisha's gaze hardened. 4 rings and you'll hit 6th rank? So you're saying you'll be a 6th-rank blacksmith if I feed you some heavenly treasures right now? Tang Wulin shook his head. Probably, but it wouldn't be good for me as a soul master to take a shortcut. Shuoisha pressed his lips together, his expression stony. All right. But Wulin, just don't bite off more than you can chew. especially when it comes to cultivation. I don't know who your uncle master is, but you don't need to take his words too seriously. Blacksmithing is the hardest of the four main professions. The difference becomes even more apparent when you get to the later ranks. That's also why there's only one divine blacksmith in the world right now. You need to focus on establishing a firm foundation. Don't put too much faith in the praise others give you. Understood? Yes. Tang Wulin dared not say anything more to Shuoisha's displeased face. Suddenly, a barking laugh sounded. Shuoisha, you old fool. I have arrived. In walked Feng Wuyu. Tang Wulin wasted no time in standing up and bowing. Teacher? Feng Wuyu waved him off. You stinking brat. You should have visited me first when you got back instead of this nest for old codgers. What can a clueless fool like that teach you? A loud slam. Tang Wulin whipped his head to the direction of the sound, eyes widening at the small dent on the tabletop beneath Shuoisha's palm. You crazy bastard. You trying to start shit? How am I clueless? You better watch your mouth in front of my grand disciple. Don't you dare spite me or I'll kick your ass out of here. Feng Wuyu snorted. You don't need to bullshit with me. Tell me, do you know who Wulin's uncle master is? Shuoisha scowled. How would I know who his uncle master is? Probably just one of your senior brothers. Wait, do you even have any? Nope. In fact, Wulin's uncle master is a generation younger than us. Then was I wrong? A talented kid like Wulin doesn't need excessive praise. I'll beat that guy's ass if he's leading Wulin astray. Now enough with this farce. If you don't have anything important to say or do, then leave. I'm losing my appetite just looking at you, Shuoisha said, mouth twisted into a scowl. Feng Wuyu smirked. I'll leave when I want to leave. Right after I give you a good slap to the face. By the way, Wulin has another teacher too. His name's Mu Chen. You know of him, right? He took a step forward, not even blinking in the face of Shuoisha's irritation. He was the president of the East Sea Blacksmiths Association branch and an 8th-rank Saint blacksmith. He has a senior brother who is the uncle master Wulin was talking about. If I remember correctly, his name was Shenhua or something like that. Right, Wulin? Tang Wulin looked between his teacher, then to his grand teacher. He didn't dare utter a word. So what about this Shenhua, his Jew? Shuoisha's eyes went wide, his breathing ragged. Shenhua? Divine blacksmith Shenhua? If it's that Shenhua, then who else could judge a blacksmith better than him? Feng Wuyu patted his own cheeks, feeling for the upward tug of his lips, the muscles forming his cheeks. Ooh. Now that feels good. How about your face, old Shua? Does it hurt? Screw off. Shuoisha shouted, sending a punch at Feng Wuyu. Feng Wuyu chuckled, catching the fist in his hand effortlessly. The two began brawling on the spot, throwing punches back and forth. Tang Wulin had long since backed away to a safer distance. But a child before them, he didn't dare intervene in a fight between titled duellos. Even Shen Yi and Wu Zhongkong had retreated. Here we go again, Shen Yi sighed. I swear we can't go more than a week without them fighting. Wu Zhongkong beckoned Tang Wulin to his side. They'll finish up soon enough. Get some exercise in the meantime. Take a walk. Just don't go too far and don't enter any forbidden areas. Tang Wulin turned to Wu Zhongkong, pout on his lips, eyes with a dash of pitiful flavor. But Teacher Wu, I'm not done eating yet. Wu Zhongkong shot him a dark look. I'll save some for you to eat later tonight. Sea God's Island is already having a tough time accommodating your stomach. Each food item on the island was a hand-picked delicacy. Even Shenhua would be satisfied with the food here. But not Tang Wulin. His appetite was monstrous. The island had enough supplies to easily accommodate one more resident, but adding one Tang Wulin was a whole different story. He alone could eat for well over 10 people. Tang Wulin left the house in resignation. The sky was painted in hues red and orange, dusk settling in. He took in a deep breath, enjoying the taste of clean, fresh air. It filled him with vigor. He had eaten half his fill, just enough so that he didn't feel hunger's brush. He strolled around the island, heading for the densest, thickest areas of vegetation. The stronger nature's embrace, the more at ease he felt. Uncle Master said the most efficient way to cultivate was to surround myself with all this green. There should be plenty of places like that on Sea God's Island. He paused for a second. Like this place? It's not bad. Oh, and over there's pretty good too. Amidst his wandering, Tang Wulin had walked his way deep into the island. Though the land itself didn't stretch far since it was contained within a lake, the thick and ancient vegetation made it hard to traverse. As he trekked onward, Tang Wulin encountered several forbidden areas, dodging past them like a scurrying animal. He didn't dare intrude. This was Sea God's Island. Laughter like the tinkling of bells. Before he knew it, his feet took him toward the source of the familiar voice. After pushing away a branch obstructing his view, he gasped, struck surprised by the steep cliff in front of him, over 20 meters in height. Two thick vines hung down it, a makeshift swing at the bottom. On the swing sat a handsome young man, his robes pressed neat, his posture impeccable. He looked to be in his late 20s, and from what Tang Wulin could discern, carried a gentle touch to his gaze. Tang Wulin didn't recognize him. He didn't sense a hint of power on the man either, and entertained the thought that he might be an ordinary person. Tang Wulin's gaze moved, and he blinked when he finally registered the other stranger. A woman who sat on the man's lap. She had her arms around his neck as she leaned on his shoulder, a warm smile on her lips. She was the source of the laughter. Despite the lack of breeze or other external force, the swing gently swung back and forth. A real fairy tale couple. Tang Wulin gulped, stunned. He didn't know the man's identity, but the woman was someone he would never forget. The Holy Spirit Dolu Yoli. A woman even his Uncle Master respected. At that moment, the swing came to a stop. The man smiled at Yoli. Looks like we have a young visitor. He seemed startled. Let's get going. Yoli blushed furiously as she glanced at Tang Wulin. She waved her hand and disappeared with the man in a flash of light. The swing teetered in place from their abrupt disappearance. If not for that, Tang Wulin would have thought his eyes had been playing tricks on him. He still couldn't believe what he had just seen. The illustrious Holy Spirit Dolor had sat on a man's lap, giggling like an innocent school girl. Tang Wulin swallowed. He immediately spun on his heel toward Shuasha's house. He felt like he just saw something he shouldn't have. But just as he walked, he caught sight of silver hair and a brush of red. Isn't that the girl from earlier? The twilight hour did nothing to hide her beauty. In fact, she shone more brilliantly than ever. On the narrow path, Tang Wulin and the silver-haired girl locked gazes. Shivers ran down their spines. Previously he had only received the privilege of a fleeting glance before he was whisked away by Wu Zhongkong. But now, standing face to face with the girl, he could finally see her face clearly. Could finally register those familiar features. Enea? At first, her expression stayed blank, revealing nothing beneath her cold exterior. Then the confusion slowly melted from her eyes and tears welled up. She let out a cry. Tang Wulin froze as she threw herself into his arms. Enea. It's Enea. It's really her. He snapped out of his shock, his heart quivering. He had used his connections to search for her far and wide, but in the end she had been so close at hand. The beautiful girl before him was Enea, his little sister. She had been just 6 when she disappeared, and now before he knew it 6 years had passed. A blossoming young lady. Tang Wulin hadn't even recognized her at first glance. But he never forgot her warmth, her smell, and her smile. He could hardly believe that it was her, that he wasn't dreaming. That he didn't somehow make a mistake and confused resemblance for the real thing. In fact, when he had blurted out her name, his mind had yet to catch up with his body. Never had he expected this. Enea hugged him tight, her body trembling as she sobbed. Big brother. Big brother. Is it really you? This isn't a lie, Right? She asked, eyes bright. Her heart tingled with excitement. Tang Wulin shared her sentiment, if not more. He was strong and brave, but in the end, the scars of having his family leave him would never fade. He had grown up an orphan. This reunion with Enea, his little sister, was more than he could hope for. Enea's really big now. And she's so slender. I can't believe she used to be a glutton like me. She's only 12, but she looks a bit older. Wow. But she remembers me. I'm still her big brother. Minutes later, the two finally put a stopper on their overflowing emotions. Enea smiled brilliantly at Tang Wulin. Big brother, why are you here? I'm an outer court student. What about you? I heard from Teacher Wu that you're the Sea God Pavilion's master's disciple. I thought your martial soul didn't awaken. Enea wiped away the last of her tears. Big brother, you first. What have you been doing these past years? Tang Wulin's eyes reddened once more at her question. He did his best to fight back the tears as he told her of what happened after she left. When she heard about his parents' disappearance, her brows drew tight in a frown. She remained silent throughout the story, an attentive listener. By the time he was finished, the sky was pitch black. Enea, what about you? Tang Wulin asked. But right before she could answer, his communicator rang. He took it out and looked at the name on the screen. Sorry, it's my teacher, he said, a meek smile. Yes, Teacher Wu, he answered the call. Come back quickly, said Wu Zhongkong, voice cold as usual. Yes, Tang Wulin answered, though he'd much rather catch up with Enea and talk into the night. But this was Sea God's Island, hallowed ground for Shrek Academy. He must obey his teacher. Enea, I gotta leave first. My grand teacher is Scarlet Dragon Doluoshwasha, so I'm staying with him. Let's meet up here again tomorrow and you can tell me what you've been up to. Okay. Enea smiled sweetly, nodding shyly. Tang Wulin hugged her again before running off. Enea stood there, watching him leave. When she could no longer see him, she bit her lip. Big brother. Upon returning to the house, Tang Wulin waited for any orders from Wu Zhongkong. However, his teacher remained silent and sent him off to bed early. As Tang Wulin shrugged off his shoes and climbed into bed, he settled himself into meditative position. But try as he might, he could not fall into that familiar feeling. Reuniting with Enea had brought forth an intense joy within his heart, and it still clung to him, feeding his restlessness. As direct disciple to the Pavilion Master, Enea's position was unrivaled among the students of Shrek Academy. He was happy for her. She was a soul master now too. Despite this, he could not wrap his mind around how she had awakened her martial soul and became so strong. Enea's reappearance ignited Tang Wulin's longing for his parents. Mom, Dad, I've finally found Enea. Where did you two go? Sun with rays. Tang Wulin woke up early the next day and practiced Golden Dragon shocks the heavens under Chuasha's supervision through the morning. Although he didn't get much sleep, he felt invigorated. He looked forward to his meeting with Enea in the afternoon. By the time he reached their meeting spot, Enea was already there waiting for him. Catching sight of her silver eyes, he couldn't help but ask, Enea, weren't your eyes purple? What happened to them? Why did they change? Enea smiled. It's because my martial soul awakened. Big brother, I'm sorry I left without saying goodbye. My family found me and took me away. Tang Wulin's heart thumped. They found you? She nodded. Yeah. Then brought me back to our clan right away. After that, they held a ceremony and awakened my martial soul. And then? My family brought me here when I was 8 to study under my teacher. That's about it. My story is pretty boring compared to yours. I really missed you though. He had an inkling she was keeping something from him. Still, he refrained from prodding. Anything she withheld must be a clan secret. It's good that you reunited with your family. I missed you too. Enea stepped forward and grabbed his hand, placing it on her cheek. Big brother, when are you going to take me out to eat some good food? Tang Wulin's heart melted. How about right now? Yes? Let's go. A smile blossomed on Enea's lips. Tang Wulin led her by the hand to the lakeside. He called Wu Zhongkong and gave an excuse to get the afternoon off, saying he had something important to attend to. On the small boat, Tang Wulin forced Enea to sit and watch as he pushed the heavy oars. The boat cut across the clear waters, straight for the shore. Enea watched him with a grin, her chin cradled in her hands. He met her smile with one of his own. Finally could he taste a hint of peace. What he had yearned for, familial bonds, wrapped tight around him in an embrace. His little sister was back. Even if her original family had reclaimed her, in his heart she would forever be his little sister. Upon arriving on shore, Tang Wulin hopped off first and offered a hand to help Enea disembark the boat. After a semester of studying in Shrek Academy, he knew the city like the back of his hand. They wove through the streets excitedly, especially on Tang Wulin's part, his favorite food stand their destination. Sun with rays. You're still too slow, said Liang Xiaoyu, his eyes never leaving the sight of Xie Xie, who was running around the working student dormitory. You need to pay attention to the way you move, how you preserve momentum and your acceleration. You need to imbue your speed into your attacks, bring both speed and power into harmony. It's similar to being one with the sword. Only once you attain that state will you be able to bring out the full potential of speed. Xie Xie slowed to a jog and stopped in front of Liang Xiaoyu. He listened earnestly, not daring to miss a single word. Follow the path of killing with a single blow. You need to concentrate all of your speed into empowering your attack to accomplish that. Speed, power, martial soul and soul skills, patience and an opportunity are all essential to pulling off such a strike. Just listening to Liang Xiaoyu's lecture caused his heart to beat quicker, his blood to roar. He felt certain, like he was no longer lost. Like he was finally stumbling onto his true path. Everything Liang Xiaoyu said resonated with him. New doors were opening. Shrek Academy followed a hands-off approach in nurturing their students. Students could ask for guidance, but the more profound the answer, the more contribution points it would cost. Even then, a meticulous answer like Liang Xiaoyu's was hard to find. Not to mention, Liang Xiaoyu demonstrated attacks, footwork, and techniques as he lectured. Xie Xie understood his shortcomings well. He was lacking in lethal power and his speed was nothing remarkable either. If he couldn't increase his attack power, then he would be useless on the battlefield. He still hadn't tapped into the full potential of his daggers. But now a path had opened up for him. All right. Let's end things here today. Practice some more when you get home and we'll meet again at the same time tomorrow. I want to see your progress, Liang Xiaoyu said as he patted Xie Xie on the shoulder. Then he disappeared in a flicker. Damn, he's fast. Xie Xie surveyed the area, trying to catch a glimpse of Liang Xiaoyu. There were many mysteries surrounding the man. Such as why Liang Xiaoyu would choose to impart his techniques onto him. They were practically strangers. Liao Xiaoyu didn't seem to be a teacher either, yet he was allowed to freely come and go through school grounds. Xie Xie had voiced his questions before. All he received for his efforts was for Liang Xiaoyu to brush it off, telling him not to worry. Xie Xie didn't push the issue afterward.
He dragged his exhausted body back to the dormitory. Letting out a sigh, he found himself fixated at Yuan and Yehue's door. Then his gaze drifted to the window. Another pair of eyes met his. An instant later, the curtains jerked closed. Xie Xie recalled the scene he witnessed yesterday. His heart quivered. I have to cultivate harder. If I can at least match Yuan's strength, I might still stand a chance. The fatigue vanished from his body. Determination pumped through his veins as he ran to the sink and splashed water on his face. He heard a creak behind him and spun around just in time to see Yuan and Yehue open her door and walk out. She was back in men's clothing, not sparing him a single glance as she walked away. Heart thumping hard, Xie Xie raced after her. Yuan, where are you going? She remained silent, ignoring him. Are you grabbing food? I'll go with you. How about it? I'm hungry too. Xie remained at her tail like a puppy. Faster than lightning she stopped in place and turned to face him, an eerie calm in her expression. Xie averted his gaze and looked to the sky, a whistle from his lips. "You bastard!" Yuan and Yehui spat out. She had no intention of letting him do what he wanted, and picked up her pace until it resembled a sprint. But Xie did not drop his pursuit. This time he kept silent, maintaining a measured distance of half a pace behind her, matching her every step. Yuan and Yehui left campus, her steps quickening as she joined the people littering the streets. She ignored Xie, trying to lose him in the crowd. But he stuck to her like gum, never leaving her side the entire time. She stopped, spinning on her heel to smack him with a sharp glare. "Are you done yet?" After scanning the area, Xie bowed his head slightly, his view in line with his feet. He snickered. "Your family doesn't own this street, right? If you can walk down it, then so can I." Shameless. Yuan and Yehui snarled, but she didn't dare lay a hand on him on the busy street. Xie smiled. "How'd you know my nickname? Everyone called me that when I was a small kid." "You?" Yuan and Yehui stared him down. Although she wanted to thrash him right then and there, Xie preemptively took a step back from her. There was no way she could match the reaction time of an agility type. Snorting, Yuan and Yehui decided to stick with the original plan. Ignore him. He could follow her all he wanted, but as soon as she finished eating she was heading back to campus. Just like that, a delicate balance of mere paces from each other, the two turned into a small street filled with food stands. Besides them, there were few people present. Usually, students frequented this little street, but for now they were all gone for vacation. That didn't stop hard-working vendors to set up shop anyway, and several food stands lined the sidewalk, each flaunting a diverse range of appetizing aromas. These smells drifted along the street, mixing together in harmony to entice customers. Xie realized how hungry he was once he felt the heat of the grills, took in the sweet and savory smells. His stomach growled. Yuan and Yehui looked around a bit before approaching a shop that sold grilled meat skewers. "Can I get 2 skewers of squid, and 2 tofu skins?" "I'll have the same thing," Xie said to the shop owner, stepping in front of her. "I'm paying for the both of us." "I don't need you to pay for me." The look Yuan and Yehui gave him could freeze. Xie smiled wryly. "We're classmates. You don't have to be so serious. You're in the 1st grade, and I'm in the 2nd. We're not classmates." "Well, we still attend the same academy. You're the senior brother here, so are you saying it's your treat? I won't refuse if you do." Xie smirked playfully. Yuan and Yehui's expression darkened, a fierce glint in her eyes. "What did you call me?" "Senior brother." Yuan and Yehui snorted, then turned away and ignored him once more. "It smells good. Big brother, can we grab some grilled squid?" said someone with a sweet voice a short distance away. "Boss, get us 50 squid skewers please." Xie was all too familiar with that voice. He turned around, and sure enough his eyes caught the sight of his captain, Tang Wulin. Then his gaze went further. Tang Wulin was holding the hand of a girl their age. The instant he laid eyes on her, he felt faint. What a beauty! A goddess-like beauty. Yuan and Yehui, Yi Xinglan, Xu Xiaoyan, and Jiu Yu were all charming and pretty girls, but they couldn't hold a candle to the girl accompanying Tang Wulin. Enchanting silver hair. A natural beauty that was neither lively nor cold. It was as if her beauty was decreed by the heavens.
"Huh? Xie, what are you doing here? And Yuan, you're here too?" Yuan and Yehui finally flipped around. The moment she saw Enea, her mind reeled in shock. Holy shit! He really is straight. But in that case, what about Guu? Now that there's proof he likes girls, doesn't it seem like there was something going on between the two of them? Enea glanced at Tang Wulin, then back at Xie and Yuan and Yehui. "We're grabbing food. Who's this with you?" Xie eyed Tang Wulin suspiciously. "Oh. This is Enea, my little sister. We lost touch for a few years, but we surprisingly ran into each other on Sea God's Island." Enea, this is Xie Xie and Yuanan. Xie Xie's name means thankful encounter. Hello, Enea said with a slight bow. Finally comprehending the situation, Xie Xie stared Tang Wulin straight in the eyes. Is she your little sister by blood? Oh wait, is this the little sister that embroidered that blanket for you? The one you beat some guy up for when we first got to East Sea Academy? 'Cause he stepped on it? This is her. Tang Wulin smiled. Yep. Xie Xie studied Enea, awed by her looks. He hastily stretched out his hand. Hi. I'm Wulin's best friend, Xie Xie. I'm an agility-type soul elder. Enea giggled, then hid behind Tang Wulin, avoiding Xie Xie's hand. Xie Xie looked away, cheeks flushed, but didn't take any offense. He turned his head again to face Tang Wulin, a hint of something flickering in his eyes. Yuan and Yehui simply acknowledged Enea with a nod. Come take a seat. You kids ordered a lot, so it's going to take a while, said the owner of the food stand. There were some tables set up behind the stand, situated out in the open. A cool breeze blew through, carrying an odd mixture of scents, food and nature. Only one table remained available, and it was just large enough to seat the four of them. Tang Wulin and Enea sat on one side. Xie Xie and Yuan and Yehui were forced to sit on the other. The shop was too small for anything else. Xie Xie broke the short silence. Boss, how come you haven't been around these past few days? Tang Wulin grinned. I've been cultivating on Sea God's Island, so I didn't have a chance to go back. You guys were watching the dorm anyway. He placed a hand to his mouth. Right, Yuanan, I'll forge your spirit alloy once I get back. Okay. Their squid arrived just then. 54 skewers of squid and 4 skewers of tofu skin served hot on a platter. To Tang Wulin, this was just a drop in the bucket. Even so, he set aside 2 squid skewers and handed them to Enea before beginning to eat. As Enea ate, she snuck gleeful glances at Tang Wulin. Big brother, you can eat so much. Tang Wulin chuckled. My appetite couldn't have changed in just a few short years. You should eat some more too. I haven't forgotten how much you loved eating either. Okay. Enea finished her 2 skewers in a few quick bites, then grabbed another 2. Boss. Can we get another 50 squid, 50 chicken, 50 lamb, and 50 beef? Tang Wulin called out. Eating together with Enea after so long stoked his appetite. He was ready to indulge. Yuan and Yehui and Xie Xie had average appetites, so they quickly finished eating. With nothing else to do, they watched Tang Wulin and Enea gorge themselves, their eyes growing wider and wider by the minute. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.